We have a lot of ground to cover, and it's been almost a year since the last SCP video, so let's skip most of the formalities and incorrect things I've done before and just say these are SCPs from the Keter class that I deem a danger to your, a group's, a city's, a country's, the world's, or even the universe's survival. So if they don't pose a threat like that, then I most likely won't be covering them. Today, we are telling you why you wouldn't survive the SCP Keter class 3001 through 3500. SCP-3002 is quite a covered-up standard SCP protocol, hiding away any true information describing it. With no defined form, it will lie dormant within the memories and consciousness of any living human, and, while within, can alter, mimic, or even eradicate any and all memories the person has. In order to spread its influence to others, it must implant itself within a person's memory, and when they recall these events as information to another person, the person receiving this information, whether it be via speech, written text, electronics, or even telepathy, will instantly have their memories infected by 3002. There will be no difference in your mannerisms, and you will act relatively normal. However, you in fact will have lost consciousness and total control of your body, becoming a sleeper agent. You and any other infected hosts will remain the same identity until an infected consciousness draws near, wherein all infected personnel will converge and forcefully expose them to information pertaining to 3002. It is hypothesized that 78% of the world's population is already under its influence, and that 84% of all information created since 2014 is tainted with 3002's influence. The SCP is extremely adaptable to any environment and will do whatever it can to remain undetectable, basically meaning it is impossible to tell who is and isn't infected until it's already too late, as they spread their information to you and effectively wipe your mind and replacing you with its copy-pasted consciousness. While it is not necessarily you dying, your state of mind being eradicated at potentially any moment, the SCP could also choose to kill yourself or others around you, as you have no control over your body's actions. SCP-3007 is a mimetic agent that, at random, will affect an undisclosed amount of individuals on the planet regardless of their age, race, health, or occupation by instantly sending a host through a hallucinogenic world. For a period of 50 to 80 minutes, 4 times a day, an infected individual will perceive to be in an alternate reality, observing long-standing jagged towers with rows of decrepit, twisted corpses everywhere, with a black column in the far distance almost beckoning visitors. Affected personnel will see, smell, and taste everything within its realm, but sound and touch will still be grounded in our actual reality. Basically meaning while you are here, you can see everything and even smell decaying dead bodies, but you will still hear and feel everything in our world. Your perceptions will be split in 2 different realities as you try to traverse what you see in this decrepit realm. If you were to fall great heights, it will reflect on your body as if struck by high altitude impact. Crashing in a jet or being impaled by spikes will reflect on your body, even though you feel what's in the real world. And there's no way of preventing yourself from being one of the people that enters this hallucinogenic world. It's basically just a global lottery, much like the Angels of Hellbound. Unless you can handle having a quadruple acid flashback every day, splitting your senses, there's little to do about it, as the only modicum of a cure is just death. SCP-3010 is a being of lytical physical attributions, being wholly anomalous in nature. Its existence is characterized by those affected by it as a creature that constantly watches them. It will target single humans in solitary, unmoving environments between midnight to sunrise. No matter where, it will always give you the sensation of being watched, from behind, from windows, or dark corners. The paranoia will be supplemented by a psychosomatic effect on the recipient's brain, causing sleep induction and and melatonin production to be completely halted, preventing the target from ever going to sleep. Much like anyone on Twitter or Tumblr, this entity comes with a list of triggers that cannot be crossed or else, including actively hunting the SCP with the intent to harm or kill it, extended contact with mirrors, windows, or darkened rooms, remaining in silence for too long, or being in direct contact with the entity while attempting to contact others. If you trigger SCP-3010 over and over, it will cause an extreme spike in your adrenaline levels and cause you to become overtly panicked, as the SCP will mutilate your body, extracting bones to carve for its own purposes, leaving a torn apart body in its wake. It will primarily target those who avoid social gatherings, underperform at social interaction, and basically just the introverted. So a lot of us are gonna be screwed that are watching this video. I know a lot of you guys are just kind of staying at home, and there's nothing you can really do about it except never be able to sleep, become more paranoid until you try to fight back, and you're just gonna have your body mutilated so it can make spears out of your bones. SCP-3013, on the surface, is just an ordinary wooden picture frame that can adjust its dimensions to fit any painting or canvas placed within it. Whatever is depicted within a painting will begin to manifest into reality with the dimensions of whatever room or domicile it lies within, attempting to match the area's conceptual design. Human and animal depictions will create organic beings with sapience and similar personality and character traits. However, if a landscape or abstract painting is used, the surrounding physical environment will begin to alter to try and meet this new image. Now, if you attempt to either not have any painting within this frame or try and destroy the frame itself, then the surrounding area will begin to crack and crumble until eventually it's destroyed. Ripping the frame from its place and having it taken somewhere else will have the room and its entire building destroyed via earthquakes measuring at 8 on the Richter scale. Due to this, it's expected that if either the painting were to be stolen multiple times or a painting were to be conceived in a wide open area like the outdoors depicting catastrophe, then an end of the world scenario could occur. So if dangerous people or animals are painted, killers or violent beasts could come to life right in front of you and try to take you down. If nothing becomes the subject of art study, kind of like an NFT, the roof will cave in above you. If you decide to transport this piece, the building it resides in will fall. And depending on the subject of the art, say a meteor striking Earth, say you painted something like that, well, art will become reality, wiping out humanity in the name of artistic expression. SCP-3020 is a virus reminiscent of rabies, but a lot more depressing. Spreading only through humans, it can be transmitted through sweat and tears. It can survive on any surface indefinitely and withstand temperatures up to -30 degrees Celsius, and can only die with extreme exposure to heat. Its symptoms resemble major depressive disorders in people, so most of you, including me, are probably already infected. Depressants and antipsychotic meds prove no effect against it and are only treatable with dopa injections in its early stages, as dopamine and serotonin are rendered null within your gray matter. Beyond that, the 3020 virus will cause paranoia and the thought that you are hated by everyone you know, and you will start to refrain from contacting anyone so that the virus can culminate with inside you and mutate. Fear will be the next step for you, causing you to believe everyone would be better off without you and want you to die, forcing you to bury yourself in work and play. Depressive episodes spurred by these thoughts will result in violent tremors with symptoms of Parkinson's soon arising. At this stage, the virus will be highly infectious from tears and direct skin contact, as some may seek out therapy or psychological help. Anger will then persist, with violent outbursts ruining relationships, and even a 42% suicide rate with extremities starting to feel numb. This numbness will cause reduced blood flow to limbs, causing colds and making the individual become sedentary and unmoving for up to days at a time, while paralyzed by forced depression and its reverberating tremors, causing up to 72% of the infected to commit suicide, while remaining people will hysterically ask to be killed or just die, spreading their infection in their suicidal wake. When you die afflicted by this virus in its final stages, viral eggs will have been laid throughout your bodily fluid and tissue, making even your corpse a viable vector for further spread, where a majority of people will either be crippled from depression, asking to die, or just committing suicide. Now, side note, let's step away from the SCP stuff for a second. If you're ever having these thoughts, I implore you to talk to someone. Seek therapy, a psychologist, or call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline here. You can even reach out to me on Twitter if you'd like. This is my tag. I might not be able to respond to you immediately, but I just want you to know you are not alone. You are loved by someone out there, and you do make a difference. You deserve to live. You just have to keep moving to find out how and why.
俺は生まれてきてもよかったのかな。
そりゃあお前生きてみりゃわかる。
SCP-3023 is a creepy, crawly phenomena where inanimate objects will randomly come to life and restructure themselves to have 8 legs and a body shape much like an arachnid in the presence of humans. Every 2 months, in a specific region of Germany, objects like a baseball bat will splinter 8 wooden legs, cars will shimmy together its auto parts to create legs and a carapace, and even dead bodies will reorganize their bones and limbs to create 4 more limbs along with the arms and legs. These artificially made spider-like objects will then indiscriminately attack anything nearby, and in most cases results in multiple casualties as they try to address the situation. If this instance were to expand outside its region in Germany, any object near you could sprout limbs and start chopping you to bits. Imagine your phone slitting your throat or your car driving home transforming at 80 miles per hour and crushing you amidst its evolution. Any object near you could transform to become a spider and eviscerate you. SCP-3032 begins life as a normal tamarack tree, but with bark and innards hard enough that axes and chainsaws cannot pierce through it. It will grow complex root systems that will solely prioritize stability over collecting resources like nutrients and water, while also somehow communicating and coordinating with similar trees. Once this tree has matured enough to reproduce, or when it is attacked or penetrated to a threatening degree, 3032 will proceedingly launch itself as if it were a ballistic missile. Its communication with other 3032 specimens can often lead to them coordinating strikes of military encampments and silos. Trees literally becoming launchable missiles when they've grown enough or feel threatened by the ever-expanding reach of lumberjacks in their need of toilet paper production could lead to your explosively wooden death. SCP-306 is a fungus a leap above others that spreads an infection through all biological life via an airborne spore it creates. Once inhaled, these spores will invade the body, causing lesions all over that will develop into warts in 2 days that can and will shed off the body and be carried away by the wind due to their very light weight to spread further. If left untreated, the body will be completely covered in these lesions, as enzymes created by the fungus will somehow alter the cells it comes in contact with, leading to rapid weight loss, altered skin pigmentation, and causing excruciating pain to a victim over 2 to 5 months while organs are shrunken down and the skeleton is reshaped to cause you to become amphibious looking in anatomy. Your body will weigh on average up to 66 pounds and measure about only 1.6 feet in length, showing the drastic alterations already. While being basically a frog isn't really deadly, it does have alterations to the point where your former self is pretty much gone. These new frog people will lose semblance of themselves but be friendly towards other people and have the cognitive dissonance to be able to learn to speak, write, and learn at the level of a highly intelligent person. However, this cognition could lead to them wanting to not be confined in quarantine, leading to them breaking out and interacting with others until the spore and its grown lesions are spread across the world, turning everyone into clever frog people. SCP-3063 is if the genie starred in the movie The Fly. 3063 resembles a normal housefly and can only exist as one, meaning if this one little fly is killed, it will manifest as another fly somewhere else in the world. Its prerogative is to seek out any normal person, read their thoughts, and speak to them anything their heart most desires. A person can deny this telepathic fly's advances, but it will continue to offer other things like money, love, power, and anything you can imagine until either a deal is brokered or it is killed. If you agree and accept his offer, whatever it was that you wish for will be instantly manifested before you. A life of wealth with tons of money, a life with the one you love where they suddenly fall in love with you, a life you wanted. Just like any wish-related story though, there is a catch. And with this one, well, after approximately 2,376 days, or 6.5 years, every species of Diptera, or flies, will have up to 20,000 of their eggs laid out across your body, inside and out. Your lungs, intestines, ears, mouth, rectum, your urethra, every part of you will be infested with the eggs of these pests. From 3 to 14 days after, the eggs will hatch into maggots, slowly eating away at your flesh in order to escape the body, then pupating and emerging 6 days later as an adult fly, from which this swarm will use their host as a breeding ground and a buffet until they die, with the resulting 50 million flies that come out of you swarming around you, then going dormant until they eventually die as well. So you'll get whatever you wish for and live a good 6.5 years. But after that, you'll have eggs hatch inside of you, and millions of flies eat you from the inside out until they get even bigger, use your body as a veritable orgy and buffet, and then you'll be the father or mother of 50 million flies as a dead carcass. SCP-3066 is a small, dilapidated log cabin in Linville Gorge, North Carolina. While inside of it, the perception of time will be heavily warped and a slower metabolism will start to happen for all residents. Those within can barely recall residing there, often spending days inside with no ill effects. They don't know how much time has passed and they never grow hungry. The area underneath this cabin is seemingly endless, with expeditions leading to any explorers always going missing. The cabin will discharge 500 tons of matter from its collapsed roof each night, with most of it composed of sheets of parchment paper that are considered to be SCP-3066-B. Reading these pages will wipe all of your higher mental functions, where you'll proceed to use any of your bodily fluids to write on nearby surfaces in order to make a message to convince people to go to this cabin. Affected hosts will also speak to others in an unrecordable and indiscernible language that will wipe the minds of anyone they contact. Once enough people have been put under the control of 3066, they will form groups and begin to try and make a similar cabin to the original, yet this time with parts of their own bodies. Using excrement, you're going to be tearing off your own skin, ripping out organs, or fragmenting your own bones to make this structure possible. And you're not going to feel any pain while you do it, but I mean, death can occur if enough damage to your body has happened. Once complete, the new flesh-made cabin will act similar to the papers from before, infecting anyone that witnesses this flesh home, and will become a mindless drone ripping their own bodies apart to spread the word of the paper shooting cabin in North Carolina. Do you remember the app Vine? Well, this is it today. SCP-307 is similar to an English ivy, but with green thorns and purplish leafage. It will occasionally lay down roots every 12 inches, penetrating any porous substance along its way. It carries with it a seemingly sentient intelligence, and when it senses a warm-blooded animal nearby, it will extend and split its vines at a fantastic speed, attempting to flank its prey to go unnoticed. Once it reaches its victim, it will penetrate their flesh, paralyzing them, and subsequently liquefying and draining all internal organs, muscles, and blood from the body. No known pesticides, herbicides, or other poisons can affect it, and only burning it can outright kill it. and as of now, an unknown amount of these plants are hypothesized to be across all of North America. So you have this plant that can sense you from far away, stealthily try to sneak up around you, and then once it is able to penetrate you, suck you dry. SCP-3088 is a small town called Cullen in Nebraska. Within the city limits, all people, structures, and reality itself will constantly be under the effects of whatever laws are enacted by the town's mayor, Thomas Ronson. Upon entering the town, all firearms you are carrying will disappear and you will never be able to leave because of laws that ban firearms and a law that says you can't leave. If any calls or communication are intercepted by law enforcement, all avenues of communication will be terminated town-wide. There will be no ingoing or outgoing calls because of one person. All designated illegal activities will be completely unbreachable by any residents, no matter how they try. The extending reach of a politician who could make any law of forcible reality is frightening. Now, you can try to rebel, but if you do disagree with anything they say, they could either write into law something that you will be forced to do against your will, or just simply write you and the entire township out of existence, basically saying it's against the law for you to exist. So unless you and those around you follow them and their beliefs wholeheartedly, and their beliefs are actually good for the township, no matter how detrimental they may be, you simply won't exist anymore to prevent rebellion. I just realized this is going to lead to some political bullshit comments about Biden and or Trump. I'm not a political channel. I think politics are fucking stupid. So if you see these comments, please just reply to them. Shut the hell up. SCP-3121 is a pair of 10-centimeter high, hobgoblin-like creatures that speak an old form of German language that refer to each other as husband and wife. The husband is extremely docile, not looking for confrontation, as it lives its life out in a hut made of sticks. If separated from its wife, or if it is tortured or harassed in front of her, the wife, though similar in appearance and nature, will enter a frenzied state, killing anyone nearby and entering their body through any orifice. From there, the female hobgoblin will teleport her and her husband anywhere on the planet to live in peace. Just don't stand in the way of imp love and your body won't become a global Uber. SCP-3125 is an abstract, anomalous, metastasized meme complex. From people that don't understand that, it's basically a string of ideas and concepts currently beyond our understanding that can spread and expand its reach through everyone's minds. The ideas this complex has are extremely aggressive than anything human minds have ever experienced. Merely being exposed to an idea, concept, or thought brought upon by this complex will instantly possess you, causing you to solely exist to try and understand this ideology. All possessed personnel will view human thinking as inferior, renouncing all semblance of being labeled human, and from there, it is hypothesized, due to our interconnected nature of exchange thought, that all of humanity would be exposed to it and corrupted by this complex within under 12 hours across the globe, effectively wiping out mankind and all knowledge, culture, community, and individuality it attained, and eradicating everyone we know and have ever known, replacing them with obsessive sociologists struggling to understand these new ideas. There is no way of stopping this complex when it enters our reality, and any instances of stopping it often leave those that approach it unable to even remember anything about it in the first place. There is no stopping it, no way of preventing its eventual step into our reality, while all thoughts that mankind have accumulated will be wiped out in half a day's time, effectively killing us all off and replacing us with mindless drones. SCP-3179 is an extraterrestrial liquid metal organism able to expand its mass over time. Its constantly altering form is able to procreate autonomous, near-organic-like creatures independent of thought from it. It originally landed on Earth in 1909 during a meteor shower over the English village of Dellington, where a religious sect contained it and prevented its growth until recently in 2016, when it was transferred to the hands of the SCP organization. Over time, it's been shown to grow legs, propeller-like objects, and create autonomous drones to fly out and search for avenues of escape. It can even imitate the voices of those that contain it and are nearby it, feigning them being trapped within its clutches to lure others in to save them. It will also create human-like beings to sabotage containment so it may expand and even restructure people to be converted agents for it, once and eventually when it breaks containment. This metal version of the Blob could very well infinitely expand, creating whatever structures it can from its mass to defend itself, create drones and humans to distract and convert, and make weapons to really take over. From its mass, there will be metal tablets forged, professing itself as God. Its own organic creations will try and convince the public of its divinity, and that acceptance of its form is mandatory as it grows to absorb and become an all-consuming presence of industrial liquid revolution that envelops our world. You'll either be consumed by it or bow to it, until eventually the planet is completely taken over. SCP-3199 is a horrific creature of unknowable origin that is composed of tissue samples of silky chicken, chimpanzee, stoat, mussel, adder, and even Homo sapien DNA, standing up to 9.5 feet tall and weighing up to 1,700 pounds with its cervical vertebrae acting as cartilage rather than bone, allowing it to contort its neck and throat enough to allow them to painfully produce their eggs. These eggs are created within their digestive tract and eventually expelled painfully from their mouths with a red, highly corrosive liquid material. It will hunt any living prey within a 0.6 kilometer radius of it, detecting them in an unknown fashion, running up to 15 kilometers per hour to catch them, where it will slaughter them outright while liquefying all internal organs and bone structures to make a suitable cadaver for its closest hatchling. But the most terrifying thing of all, besides these monsters' shape and predatory nature, are their unnatural rate of producing eggs, only really procreating to fill in space with no known limit to the amount of eggs they can vomit out, meaning they could theoretically infinitely reproduce asexually, not needing another partner. As adults, these creatures can be killed in all manner similar to humans, but their eggs are hellaciously resistant to most forms of damage, including extreme blunt force trauma, 180,000 psi in pressure, withstanding any high-precision blade and long-term acid exposure, and is also not advised in taking them out as heat just hastens their hatch cycle. If even one of these creatures were to exist unopposed in the wild of our world, they could catastrophically hunt down and wipe out all natural life on Earth due to their sheer numbers and birth rate. While they are easily killable by conventional methods, their countless eggs are not. And that lies in their apocalyptic potential. If they can lay thousands of eggs, those thousands of eggs can lay thousands of eggs in a very short amount of time. You are going to be overwhelmed by these horrific creatures. SCP-3200 is a region of space with fewer galaxies than any other region known to man. It is currently expanding at a rate of 1 million light-years per Earth year, and within this region, space-time is veritably thin and open. Expeditions to this area will eventually have all personnel finding a box with a playable CD inside of it that reveals alternate realities where those exact personnel tried stopping the expansion of 3200. Think of it kind of like Doctor Strange looking into the future for every possible scenario. Each reality either showing them in recordings or showing something in reality. Something like their own dead bodies popping up, showing alternate versions of themselves where they're withered by age and maddened by attempting to solve this dilemma of SCP-3200. They have been trying this for decades, or just an infinite amount of scenarios where they always fail, eventually coming to the conclusion that all timelines will converge on one another, and at that point all timelines will be eradicated and cease to exist. This is inevitable, and if this region of space were to keep expanding and reach Earth, all life would experience every possible reality progressively all at once, across all time, before being wiped from existence, like every scenario possible was futile and fruitless, as we are cast to a timeless, empty void. SCP-3204 is what formerly existing people have described as a statue of a horse on its hind legs atop a pedestal with Pegasus-like wings and a unicorn-like horn. It is surrounded by concrete walls in all directions with thickets of dead vegetation in between both. If you do end up observing this statue in any way, from seeing it, touching it, feeling it, looking at pictures of it, recordings, or even looking at ultrasounds of it, the next time someone else stops observing you after you have witnessed any of this in any similar way to the statue, you will suddenly disappear from existence and never return. Speaking and reading about it are fine, so as we're discussing this, you have nothing to worry about. But simply any observation will wipe you from existence if someone stops looking at you in any way. But if you really think about it, in a worst case scenario, if someone were to spread images and videos of the statue to the mass population, many would vanish in an instant. Imagine scrolling through Twitter, seeing a picture of this horse, and suddenly just disappear. SCP-3208 is an infectious disease dating back to the mid to late 1800s. A hard, seed-shaped neoplasm will embed itself into your thalamus, causing minor headaches and neurological degeneration. The neoplasm will grow over 3 weeks across your cerebrum, sparking seizures, muscle weakness, dysmetria, and impaired cognitive function, until full-body paralysis sets in. It will then spread through your nervous system and exit through any orifice as a gray infectious substance that will anchor your body down even further. Once in this state, you will progressively experience more and more vivid dreams and hallucinations of a twisted, shadowy figure, causing you paranoia and unease at all times until the point where you cannot speak at all while you are awake. This cowboy-hatted, caped figure will always appear before you, a tall, blackened, charred man, always spelling doom for you, saying that you will die, and so many other dark and depressing things as you sleep. And every waking moment, you will be unable to move or speak, waiting just to sleep again before you see him again in an endless cycle of paralyzed torment, potentially infecting anyone that tries to help or hospitalize you to hand them the same fate until you wither and die of exhaustion, starvation, or dehydration. SCP-3217 is an anomalous letter that can be forged as it were from non-profits like the ACLU, AARP, or Greenpeace. If opened by an intended recipient, the person will change their name and persona to that of a superhero in line with their initials of the same letter, gaining powers and abilities that go in line with that as well. It's possible freedom fighters like this could lead to getting themselves or others killed to fill out this mass mailing system's fantasies. SCP-3234 is a dissociative disorder that will target anyone with a highly negative sense of self or wish to remain isolated from society, with the disorder worsening as a person's thoughts become either more stressful and or negative. Memory will slowly diminish over time as the victim will be unable to communicate due to an inability to grasp their own thoughts. They cannot talk because their thoughts are so scattered. Everything seen by them will become colorless and dim, as if watching the world through a 1940s television. Over time, victims of 3234 will have their body covered in a visual sensation similar to video noise or TV static, and approximately 27 hours after this noise appears on the body, the victim will be completely consumed by it, and then become an unresponsive, staticky silhouette that will eventually fade into nothingness, causing any negative and isolated people to potentially be overcome by static until their TV-like perception of reality just goes black. SCP-3256 can be considered a copycat killer cognitive virus. From 1993 to 2000, a series of murders were strung out in New England by the Brockton Bay Binder. The SCP itself is not, in fact, the murderer in question, but the story of his murders and the way he carried them manifest themselves in written, televised, and spoken work consisting of depictions similar to the style of his murders and the way he mutilated their bodies. To most, first, it will cause no effect, but to certain people, they will instantly have their personality changed to something labeled 3256-S. Those changed must have these qualities. You must be born male and identify as male, have to have lived in the New England area for up to 5 years, be white with brunette hair, be between the ages of 15 and 32, have had at least one homosexual romance at one point, have had 3 or less consenting sexual partners throughout their lives. From there, anyone checking off all these boxes will become an affected individual, and they will begin to eat their own hair and mucus, and ironically be scared of bugs, but be attracted to spiders. 3256-S individuals will carry out like a copycat killer, searching for victims to dismember, use spider venom on, cannibalize their bodies, and mutilate them, cutting up the bodies, and a currently redacted other act to their bodies inspectors discover in autopsies. So, either you might die due to any person fitting this description suddenly becoming a copycat killer and brutalizing you, chopping up your body, injecting you with spider venom, and a multitude of other things, or you become a copycat killer, eating boogers in your own hair, and going Texas Chainsaw Massacre on people until you're incarcerated and given the lethal injection. SCP-3262 is a mind-blowing plant that puts the happening to shame. A bright red series of vines coated in bioluminescent seed pods, this fauna has no roots, leaves, or anything needed for photosynthesis, instead using thermal energy to process and consume living animal tissue. Withstanding heat of up to 900 degrees Celsius, this faux fauna will release tons of 0.3 mm sized seeds into the air to be inhaled by animals and people. The seeds will then be carried by the bloodstream eventually to the brain, where it will convert brain tissue into combustible hydrocarbons and oxygen. Victims will be asymptomatic for a bit, and then suffer convulsions and unconsciousness in the span of only 10 seconds before the victim's head explodes. The heat of the blast will give birth to vines erupting from the bloody stump of a neck and shooting explosive seeds at anyone nearby the explosion, attempting to consume flesh via the heat and spreading more seeds through the air. Getting close enough to just breathe near these vines will have you pass out eventually and randomly, so you don't realize your head is about to explode, and then your skull goes off like a fragmentation grenade, spreading more of these seeds to your friend and family, and then having their minds blown as well. SCP-3273 appears as a regular bottle of prescription painkiller tablets. 35 minutes to 2 hours after consumption, the patient will lose all sense of pain in any regard, no matter how severe the symptoms or injury. 3273 is more addictive than heroin, and for most, patients will intentionally overdose themselves on the prescription within a 3-day period. Upon overdose, the patient will begin to feel pain as they should in a 24-hour period. However, this time around, the patient will now feel calm and satisfied with the pain they experience, to the point where they will actively look to harm themselves in any way they can in order to appease this new pleasure, to the point that they will die from their self-inflicted related injuries. An addiction of drugs leads to an addiction of pain that will have you smiling as you slowly off yourself. SCP-3276 is a multi-level marketing company named the Healing Company that sells health products that have no actual scientific or realistic health benefits, from oil diffusers to meal replacement shakes to alkaline water. Anyone that buys in bulk from this website will suddenly be affected and become pregnant, and if you don't have a uterus, your body will grow something similar to a uterus to harbor your new fetus. The fetus inside you will be an identical clone to you and receive nutrition in a similar way. However, childbirth will never occur, and the fetus will grow and age like an average person over time. Due to a larger being inside of you, their size and nutritional requirements will begin to heavily damage your new maternal body. Any attempts to medically aid you will instantly be shot down, as you will insist that the only way you can feel better is by buying more of the pseudo-scientific health products from the healing company. You're gonna deny everything, you're gonna suffer from malnutrition and crushed organs, and then simply say, I just need some Cherokee hair tampons and I'll feel good, man, or just something dumb like that. If you are forcibly induced to abort the internal clone or try to give birth to it through C-section, or if you are restricted from accessing the health products from the healing company, you will enter a deep depression where you can't even function in any regard. You will not eat, sleep, or barely even move. Regardless, those that fall prey to this fake health scam online will end up going full Bloody Mary, having a child without any sexual encounter or without a uterus, and refuse help as this internal fetus grows to be a full-blown kid and destroy you from the inside out, or spurring you into a depression where you will not function until eventual death because you can't have your adaptogens or nootropics from their website. And they actually have a website. Do not go to this. I don't want you getting knocked up anytime soon and come crying to me when you're wanting more of that damn alkaline water. SCP-3308 is a Caterpillar 903G hydraulic front-end loader, or dirt digger-upper for people like me. When in contact with a flat surface, the landscape surrounding it will tilt 45 degrees or 135 degrees, causing all unsecured objects around to stay in a level position, unlike the surrounding environment. Unless the machine is forced to tilt in an exact direction as its environment, or if it is suspended in the air or on an even platform, its tilting effects will remain. However, while it is prevented from doing its slanting effects, the Caterpillar digger-upper will gradually and drastically change its weight to cause even hydraulic ramps that can withstand 45,000 kilograms of weight to be caved in. In cases of mass traffic highways and highly populated and dense areas, these effects can and will be catastrophic, where all drivers will face what they witnessed as a sudden ski slope on the highway crashing into each other, causing massive car pileups, while homes and businesses will suffer substantial damage due to the terrain shifting so drastically. Unless you're in a gigantic building that won't be affected enough to crumble or an immovable object, you will probably either die in a tragic accident or be severely injured by falling debris. SCP-3313 is the severed penis of Benjamin Franklin. Yeah, you heard that right. And when someone comes into contact with this, they will have reality-bending capabilities. Yeah, that's right. The guy on the $100 bill's dick can give you whatever you wish. And on top of that, the phallic lightning rod will even talk to you. Hope telepathically, I don't want the head talking to me, and ask what you want. The penis was an accidental occurrence after the founding fathers were genetically resurrected to insurrect the current government, but all had escaped except for Ben, who somehow acquired his detached penis and used its power to shoot himself off like a rocket, crashing through 8 floors unharmed. A man from the 1700s, wielding his beefstick like a wand to do anything he wants. But I'll just leave you with that. SCP-3320 is an extraterrestrial cylinder 155 meters in length and 30 meters in diameter. It is covered in a metal composed of microscopic carbon nanotubes and semi-fluid self-repair mechanisms. Its fusion rocket system allows it to escape the atmosphere fueled by currently unknown matter. It is hypothesized to reach upwards of 95% the speed of light, and if it collides with an object, can create a blast 500,000 times the energy released by a nuclear bomb. It cannot be destroyed by any known method, and means of any kind of explosive only serve to change its trajectory slightly. It lies within a southern portion of the Atlantic Ocean, remaining dormant, and in intervals of every 1 week to 2 months, 3320 will become active and initiate a launch sequence, and with each launch, its energy level and blast radius have increased in power and size each time. It supposedly has a yet undetermined target, so wherever it is targeting, it will eventually get there and ultimately be destroyed with enough force to make Nagasaki and Hiroshima pale in comparison. SCP-3335 is an off-white compound similar in appearance to flour, and acts as a hallucinogenic compound similar to PCP in its immediate effects. At this point in time, an undisclosed percentage of the total world population has already willingly consumed 3335 for recreational purposes, with its effects being extremely different between each use and each person. 3335 abusers will also develop an adherence to drink their own or others' blood if 3335 is within the bloodstream. 3335's Keter status derives from its effect within our blood, as it remains in blood content at low levels without any way of filtrating it out, even in dialysis treatments. Continued use of this addictive drug will have all users' blood content dominated by 3335 as they continue to share their blood with others until eventually they all slip into an irreversible coma with no way of prevention or treatment leading up to this. A white powdery substance making you a fiend for your own or other people's blood until your very blood shuts down your body. SCP-3336 is an event that occurred April 16, 2014 at 9:55 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time, where, after an undisclosed SCP containment breach supposedly caused every conscious organism on the planet to sneeze all at once, leading to 78 civilian deaths worldwide, mostly due to traffic incidents. Now, if there is an ability that can cause all conscious beings on Earth to commit the same unintended action, there may be something more to it that can do a much more detrimental and deadly degree. SCP-3359 is a tomb of stone covered in Egyptian hieroglyphs adorned with bowls of food that will not decompose. If anyone consumes any of these foods, the tomb will immediately shut itself as the person begins to transform into what is now called 3359-1. Their skin will shrivel and muscles deteriorate to a hellish degree, drying up all liquids within their body like blood, water, saliva, urine, and even cum. This mummified infected will proceedingly hunt down any life forms at night in order to drain their bodily fluids simply by touching their skin. It retains superhuman strength, but is extremely slow, save for a few rapid movements here and there. If this mummy is destroyed, the body will turn to dust and eventually reform within the tomb of 3359. If these mummies are able to acquire 2.5 kiloliters or 660 gallons of fluid, they will revert to a 20-year-old version of themselves with full cognitive function, but will rapidly age to a 60-year-old version of themselves over the span of just a month. After this period, when they reach the 60-year-old version, this rehydrated mummy will disintegrate and reassemble within the tomb as its former dehydrated mummy to actively hunt for liquid once again. If a large number of people were to eat food that's been sitting around in a tomb for about 4,000 years, like some kind of Elder Scrolls dungeon, then we would have a legion of indestructible dehydrated mummies that will stalk the night and try to suck you dry to retain their youth and consciousness just for a month. SCP-3378 is a plant species that spreads its seeds through pollen that, once is inhaled by a human, will embed themselves in the tissue of their nasal cavity. From there, its roots will grow and cause congestion and difficulty breathing as it makes its way to the cranium, eventually invading the brain, causing the victim to enter a comatose state for 12 hours before reawakening under the plant's complete control. An infected person will begin to seek out information from books and television, but refute active stimuli like video games. This plant is not a gamer. While engaged with this information, the victim will refuse to engage in any other activity while knowledge is accumulated. If the source of info is removed from their presence, they will actively seek yet another one. And if they are restricted from this activity whatsoever, there's no way for them to gain any more knowledge, the victim will go catatonic, and the plant will proceed to grow its roots throughout the body, rendering it pretty much dead. Host bodies gain enhanced strength while under their control, and if they are controlled long enough, the only method of curing and removing this plant from the brain is via a surgical procedure involving reptilian digestive enzymes. But if this cannot be acquired, you will obsessively research your brain out, ignoring your needs to eat, drink, or sleep, while others grow concerned over your well-being and force and restrain you. And if they do that, the plant will render your body null and void. SCP-3382 is the Make-A-Wish Foundation if it was a god that punished greed and could actually grant any wish.
If you could have one wish, what would it be?
What's your wish, pal?
What did he say?
He said his wish is not to die.
Being a string of billboard advertisements of unknown construction and origin of a charity across Arizona that feature an untraceable phone number that can be called. When called by anyone above the age of 10, the number will simply be disconnected. However, when called by children at or under the age of 10, a female voice will appear, asking them for a wish in a very calming manner. Depending on the wish, the female voice will change in mood and severity. Some examples include a 10-year-old suffering from leukemia who had wished to meet a celebrity, and then the celebrity visited him within 3 days. A 7-year-old with stage 2 liver cancer wished their doctor could make them better, and within 5 days, the Mayo Clinic offered his poor family free treatment. A 5-year-old with a heart disease wished to see Santa Claus, and soon an SCP resembling Santa appeared. An 8-year-old with a brain tumor wished her parents were back together, and the very next day, they reconciled their relationship. While positive in nature, some wishes can turn dark very quickly. A 9-year-old with multiple sclerosis wished to see her dead mother again, and suddenly she died of a heart attack right after the call. If a wish requesting material possessions is made, the woman on the other side's voice will say with malice,
"I hope it was worth it,"
before granting it with dire repercussions. A 6-year-old with no health problems wished for a Barbie, and soon she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. A 10-year-old healthy boy wanting a signed football got his wish, and was soon infected with SCP-217. A 10-year-old with stomach aches, instructed by SCP organization personnel, was told to wish to never be sick again, with the woman getting pissed off.
"You think you can just... I hope you have a nice day."
Questioning the legitimacy of the wish and abruptly hanging up. The boy was soon cured of his stomach aches, but then he developed AIDS days after. The awful and drastic wishes and their random consequences could lead to many premature deaths, and could also possibly will into existence whatever a young child may wish, which in essence could be anything, even world-ending, depending on the nature of their upbringing, or if instructed by those that know of the nature of this demented genie charity. SCP-3402 is a phenomenon in Louisiana where a group of young white-collar suited workers walk down long and lonesome roads until they find a means to leave the road. Upon doing so, they will walk another 3 kilometers farther away from civilization, and at that point, every one of these SCPs will begin to use their teeth and fingernails to rip each other's flesh off in strips, screaming out in pain without defending themselves or attempting to leave this skirmish. The first to die via this attack will suddenly have its fats ignite, lighting everyone else in a fatal fire. Any individuals matching their less groomed but suited appearance within a certain radius will unwillingly join in this carnage event, and precedingly die stripped of flesh. Anyone not of these characteristics will simply join the ritual but won't participate in the stripping of flesh, and the SCPs will instead attack them and strip their flesh off with their teeth and nails. So to those in Louisiana, stay away from country roads and a bunch of dudes or a group of semi-sharp dressed men may strip you to the bone and or burn you alive. SCP-3418 is a phenomenon along an undesignated river in China, where people within 40 kilometers of it can suddenly vanish and reappear as seemingly deceased bodies within 700 meters of the river. The body will naturally decompose without being consumed by any kind of wildlife, even down to the microbial organisms. Interestingly and horrifyingly enough, the central nervous system will still be fully active despite lack of oxygen and nutrients into the body. While sensory organs will be dysfunctional, neurological imaging will still be active within the brain, meaning the victim is still alive and can only really think and nothing else. Basically, you're dreaming. Not too long after this, SCP-3418-2 will appear, resembling a giant devil catfish, being intangible to the point it is immune to physical damage or being captured. Its pale green and luminescent flesh will begin hunting down these undead and unstill corpses, and will swallow them whole, digesting them. And anything that attempts to interfere with its process will also be consumed in a similar manner before it just vanishes in a cloud of radiation. Simply being near a river to be kidnapped and left for dead while all your senses but thought are robbed of you until you're eaten whole by a catfish monster. SCP-3456 is a group of quadrupedal beings similar to horses, but with a lack of hair, three-toed hooves, translucent skin, and human torsos with arms and heads fused to its back. The fused human parts will extend as twice its body length, ending in 5 protruding bone digits of human fingers. It will emit high-pitched screams from the hole on the human faces, reaching up to 110 decibels, blowing out the eardrums of nearly anyone nearby. They stand up to 30 meters high and 15 meters in length, and are impervious to all conventional weapons. They will appear near sites of war, terrorist attacks, and natural disasters, basically any large event with high body counts, and they will engineer traps to ensnare and torture people amidst this decaying chaos. Once a person observes the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, they will be hunted by 3456 as it camouflages and hides itself while it stalks them relentlessly. It will actively put itself within sight of victims, wanting to be seen so it may hunt as many observers as possible, then trapping and torturing them until a large number is accumulated by it, where it will then disappear with their bodies. Its victims, never to be seen again, could be hypothesized that were slaughtered and fused to its flesh to strengthen it. If you end up a near casualty in war, terrorism, or a natural disaster, you may gaze upon this faux horseman and hunted till you are captured and murdered and never seen again, possibly to fuse with this god. SCP-3462 is a human-like entity composed of destroyed VHS tapes within an abandoned Blockbuster video store that, when entered, any recording devices near it will degrade and be unusable unless in the format of a VHS tape or CRTV. Anyone entering the store will begin to suffer from brain atrophy and a swelling of the vocal cords. Short-term and then eventually total memory loss will follow within 15 minutes as the vocal cords completely swell shut, leading to total asphyxiation and death. The SCP can extend its brain and vocal altering effect up to 300 meters from the store, and possibly longer if not kept in check, causing mass casualties in its surrounding area. This can be circumvented only if you provide it legitimately studio-made VHS tapes it has not acquired yet, as long as they are not edited, aren't rated higher than PG-13, and have a score higher than 35% on Rotten Tomatoes and other online review sites. Either way, you may want to refrain from entering any blockbusters that haven't been touched for a while, or the VHS man will choke you out like your boyfriend on Netflix night. SCP-3473 is an animate entity, kind of humanoid but with longer, thinner limbs, 3 digits on each appendage, and a large, gaping toothless maw with yellow pupilless eyes and 4 insect-like tendrils on its head. It retains a social and adult-like nature with childish wonder. Its body surface temperature can reach up to 1100 degrees Celsius, while its mouth reaches about 3000 degrees Celsius. When feeding or agitated, 3473 can exacerbate these temperature readings along with high levels of radiation. To eat, it will raise nearby temperatures to unrecordable heights in order to convert an object into absorbable ionized plasma, and digesting it can what only be described as a process of nuclear fusion. It doesn't like to eat living organisms, but won't show remorse in consuming them if threatened or annoyed. Its true threat, though, lies in if it gets agitated over monotonous conversations that won't allow it to understand the world more, or if it feels threatened or agitated in any way. 3473, if this does occur, will trigger a nova event, veritably exploding with the power greater than that of a 20-kiloton nuclear bomb or a solar flare, with some of these blasts lasting longer than 2 days in length, instantly incinerating and atomizing anything within its blast radius. 3473 will then lie in an exhausted and traumatized state for its actions, and if it is not adequately calmed down, subsequent nova events could occur. So if you cannot appease this hothead entity, it will just blow up and dematerialize your body with nothing left behind. And if you are part of the cleanup crew for its destruction and you can't find a way to calm it down, you too will be a casualty of anxiety, anger-induced destruction. And to end things off, we're ending things with a cat. SCP-3487 is a regular 8-month-old catto, yet it can recover from any injury and cannot die. But beyond this cat's infinite 9 lives, more so, every time it moves, it can literally rewrite history just so that it cannot be contained, or its containment could easily be escapable. That's it. It's a cat that when it moves, rewrites history so that it can go wherever it wants. It will rewrite history just because it doesn't want to be contained. A cat with that kind of power could easily make it where a butterfly effect could destroy civilizations, timelines, and societies, all because it wants the ability to be both outside and inside the house all at once. And we all know cats would not hesitate to use that kind of power and would not care the repercussions of their actions. That about wraps things up for today. If you like what you heard, did not like what you heard, or you skimmed through this video and you're just at the end of the video, thank you for tuning in for this long, by the way. But if you want a part 5 in the Keter class or want to suggest a different Why You Wouldn't Survive, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching up until this point. I probably won't be doing another one of these SCP videos for a long time. I mean, it's been almost a year since part 3. So try to soak this one in and enjoy it. Go watch my other 3. I'll be making one more video before the year ends. Then I keep saying I'm gonna take a break. This time I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to cure myself of my burnout. I've been doing YouTube videos for almost 6 years, and I really just need a break to do painting. Maybe I'll do some live streams. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/WildSuchGaming. Go follow me there. The channel gets by thanks to beautiful wild people like you just for watching, and I can never thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to watch these over hour-long videos of me talking about some weird, destructive, and honestly bleak shit. If you want to support the channel a little further, you don't have have to if you don't want, but if you want to be featured here on this really cool list, you can do so, like donating to my Patreon, joining as a member of the channel. Thank you to the people that are here. Also, huge effing shout out to Wisefish, the world's best and most British editor, as well as a star Formula 1 racer in the making. Be sure to check out my other SCP videos again by clicking the link right here on the screen, or checking out the rest of the Why You Wouldn't Survive series by clicking this other link here. Until next time, stay safe, stay secure, stay contained, stay protected, and of course, stay wow.